even if she said, okay, yeah, I want mixed kids, that doesn't mean she deserved to die.
We have to really look at each other's backstories and be like, yo, she might have grown up in a certain way where she feels that way.
Black is not necessarily just like your skin color. Black is a value system.
I don't necessarily know the ins and outs of what Lil Wayne has been going through. Don't have people wasting their money popping out to see you and you don't know the lyrics, you're not really saying stuff, you don't look like you're sober or coherent.
The Boston Tea Party was a drug deal going bad.
I was today years old.
Me too.
When I learned that the Boston Tea Party was a drug deal.
Welcome to What Just Happened. I am Alexa Layton. I'm in the driver's seat today, actress and content creator, and I have some lovely co-hosts with me who will be introducing themselves, starting with...
I'm a co-host now? Oh, man, I got the upgrade.
You did.
Rashid J, owner of Team Sheed Productions, also a stand-up comic, founder of Out of Pocket Comedy. We just had a good show last night with our inaugural show.
Nice.
Taking comedy on our own. Remember I told y'all last time?
Inaugural was kicking your ass a second ago. You tried to say it.
Inaugural. It's a late night. We did our first show last night. My boy came through. We DJ'd, had like a room of 50 people come out. It was nice. It was a good night. So Out of Pocket Comedy, Team Sheed Productions, we're doing a lot right now.
Congrats. Sounds great. I got to pop out to one of those.
Yeah. Your boy School, producer, host extraordinaire, all things in between, all around that.
Dope. My name is Keith White. I'm a lawyer and a dad from Brooklyn.
Nice.
A lawyer and a dad from VK.
Keeping it simple.
How old are your kids?
24, 20, 12, 12, and 8.
Oh, you a real dad.
A real
Yeah.
dad. Because you see how he knew all their ages, right?
Yo,
some of these dads got all these kids and they can't tell you shit about their kids.
You think they can't know all
It's a
their
real
ages?
dad. Absolutely not.
You think Cannon know all that?
No, he don't know their ages. He don't know their birthdays. He don't know their allergies. He knows nothing.
Look,
Alex, it's crazy.
y'all know Ninja Man? Reggae artist?
Yeah.
20-something kids, man.
Deplorable.
20-something kids.
That's deplorable.
Oh, my God.
That's Caribbean, though. That's different, man. It's different in the Caribbean.
It ain't different. It's deplorable.
Ain't nothing to do.
It's deplorable.
Ain't nothing to do. You drive right out at once.
Yeah.
All right, let's get this show started. So today we're starting off with a pretty heavy topic. But this segment is called The Main Thing. And the main thing today is influencer Ashley Janae has been found dead in Zanzibar after traveling there for her birthday with her fiancé. He actually proposed to her on the trip. So she's in Zanzibar. She gets found dead. And it's under very suspicious circumstances. It's been reported as a suicide. And her parents have started a GoFundMe to pay for her services. But this situation seems to be lacking the viral empathy that it should, due to the fact that her fiance is white and she's a black woman. And some of her previous posts over the years have reflected a preference in dating white men over black men. How does that make you guys feel? What do you feel about the lack of virality around this situation? And what are your opinions on...
Wait, so the Black Twitter is basically saying she deserved it?
Black Twitter men mostly are divesting from the situation because they're like, oh, well, she liked white men anyways, and she wanted mixed kids. One of her tweets that were pulled up, which was from 2013, by the way, was that, oh, my kids will be mixed. And then the worst of her tweets was something along the lines of, oh, every day wake up and embarrass us. That was the worst of it.
Right.
How do you guys feel about her interracial dating choices in relation to now her death?
Yeah.
I have mixed kids.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to jump in, right? And, if I die because I got mixed kids, does that mean my death didn't matter? Do you know what I mean? Death is still death, especially if you're a parent, especially, once you have kids, I feel like you have a different view on life and death.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that her death is because she chose to date interracial, right? Even if it's later discovered that this person she was engaged to had something to do with her death, it wasn't because I wasn't just because he's white. It's because that's the type of person that he was. And I think that when we impugn bad character on the victim, that's a little bit tough for me. But I also think that, I think that black men are feeling like, hey, like, who should we show up for? And I think that that's a problematic question, because it's not about who we should show up for, it's what we should show up for. And I think that that's where I might be at odds with I don't want to even call it Black Twitter, because I don't think that that's Black Twitter.
Really,
I think that that's a faction of people who have an opinion.
Let's piggyback off that. I think it is black men on Twitter, mostly because you said, could you repeat what you said? You said it's black men asking who should we show up for,
as opposed to what we should show up for.
As opposed to what we should show up for.
So it's a principle.
Right.
Right.
I think we should ask the question, who do you show up for and what do you show up for? Because if we want to really get deep into it, that guy from Virginia, the Virginian ex-lieutenant governor, Justin Fairfax, he just killed his wife and himself
right,
in the same house as his 2 children.
right.
Black men don't. Okay, you're divesting from the situation because she was with a white man. She wanted white kids. Like, oh, I don't care. What do you invest in? Because I don't see any virality around this situation either. I don't see anyone talking about, oh, what's going on in the black community? Like, he killed this woman. She deserves justice. Her family deserves justice. I don't see the conversation on the flip side happening positively either in support of black women. So it's concerning to me because, yes, I agree with you. We should have principles around what rhetoric are we spreading, right? Like, who do we support? But there seems to be just nothing at all. Like, black men and men in general don't.
But Alexa, it's tough when you say black men in general, and I think that when we start generalizing like that, that's a problem. And just because something doesn't become viral doesn't mean that it's not important to folks. It just means that the algorithm hasn't picked it up. And I think that it's important to distinguish between the two. There are black men in communities all around the country and all around the world that are saying, no, we need to hold men accountable for the abuse that women suffer. And that's real. That's a fact, right? And so that's happening. The fact that this former lieutenant governor from Virginia, killed his wife and killed himself, that's abuse. If this guy did this thing in Zanzibar, that's abuse. And those are things that we think people should be held accountable for. But I think that the fact that it's not viral doesn't mean that it's not important, and that's a generational conversation.
That's true. I understand exactly what you're saying, but I personally, I just don't see enough coming from men, right? You see women, when things happen to men in society, oftentimes, yes, men and women are coming together to protest, to speak out against the deplorable things that are happening and injustices that are happening to black men and men in general. But I don't feel that same energy come from men when the violence is focused on women. It's not enough. I don't think men are talking to their friends enough and being very concerned about what's happening to the women in their community. I don't think men are.
But you gotta have data for something
time.
Like that.
Yes, and I actually do want to dive into this more. We're not going to be able to do it on this show, but I do want to dive into this more and look at the statistics and understand the data behind it, because on the surface, it doesn't feel like men provide the same amount of support that women provide for men, and specifically in the black community.
And that's feelings, but that's not necessarily
they're
facts.
not facts. They're not
That's
facts.
feelings.
They're
Okay.
feelings. They're not facts at all.
Alexa, you have a feeling based on your story and your lens, right? And I think that it's a lot for me to break down, but I think that the top of this, interracial dating versus possible murder, possible
Right.
Okay, is like we just look at that, and if you want my opinion, you look at the black community. I think we've always had an issue with determining, because of the way that we were brought into this country, determining what is black. I think that's a very big statement for us. I think there's a very big statement about you date one interracial person, you're still black, you cool. You just did it in college. It's a mistake. You're all right. You date three, that nigga ain't black no more. You know, like, oh, we out with him or we out with her, right? Like, she wants to have mixed babies. And there is this non-understanding within our culture that I think that a lot of this stuff is some of our backstory. A lot of what's happening now and how this generation responds, you're younger than me, how your generation responds has a lot to do with, like, what is the determinant of whether or not Drake is black enough or Kendrick is more black than Drake, like, and that splits us. And I think systematically, then you look at the government and how we got split as black men and black women, systematically on purpose.
Yeah.
How the Black Panther Party was split up on purpose, how the hood was split up on purpose, how, you know, I'm in the court system, you know, with children and things like that. How child support and all that stuff and welfare and EBTs and all that stuff is looked at. There becomes a man versus woman society.
Yes,
right?
we very much live in that type of society. But my gripe is we understand where this comes from, right? We understand that all of our issues are deeply rooted in slavery and how we came to this country. What are we going to do now, though? What are we going to do now
Yeah,
to
but I feel like we
build
got to put the
community?
guns.
How are we going
I
to...
feel like we got to put down the guns.
How are we going to move forward? How can we put... Okay, well, this is going to lead to a whole other
Right,
story.
right.
How can we put down the
we about
guns
to-
if they not putting down their guns?
Who,
You know
the
what I'm
whites or
saying?
the blacks?
The whites. Like, we still... we need our guns.
So I'm not saying put down the guns towards the outside community. I'm saying the inside community needs to put down their guns. The number one thing you learn in meditation is that your reaction is what you can control. You cannot control someone's action, right? When you're raising children, if that child walks into the room and goes, "I hate you, Dad," and you go, "I hate you too," right?
Yeah.
Then you have now lit a match in between those two things. And black men and black women, in order to work together, black fraternities, black organizations, in order to work together, we have to admit that we were all raised differently. I guarantee you that everyone sitting on these four couches were all raised a little bit different. Right?
But I think there's a lot of similarities in how we were raised too, though.
100%.
Yes, and I just,
100%.
but, and I get it, but it's just, and and you know, next time we come here, I want to bring more statistical facts to support this claim because I do feel very strongly about it.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's a the level of support that black women show black men is higher than level of support that black men show black women. And I'm going to bring statistics around that. Not statistics that just confirm that. I do want to bring statistics that will, just so we can understand at a baseline level, is that true or not?
But and also contextualize it.
Yes, because I know that my black sisters feel the same way. So I want to make sure that what we're feeling is actually facts, because there's no like training or upbringing around how you as a black man can support your black sisters that aren't even actually related to you. Like, is that a conversation that someone has had with you when you grow up? Like, how do you support black women that aren't your sister or your aunt or your cousin? Like, black women that you don't even know.
There's organizations all over the country.
But
where
have y'all been to these organizations? Do you know the names of these organizations? Like, is this, like, they can exist, but are they actually infiltrating our community? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
What we're really talking about is the home, though. What we're really talking about in terms of human beings is, it could be organizations, whatever. We're really talking about the home. I think a systematic issue that we're skipping over is that I think black women have it harder in this country than a lot of people.
Absolutely.
1000%.
Absolutely.
Period. And anytime a group has it hard, you will be in a corner and look to the person closest to you to be like, "Hey, brother, it's your fault. You should have done something here." Whereas in truth,
Or help me.
Or help me. But in truth, in my opinion, we are all kind of back up against the wall. And we don't talk about it enough in 2026. That all of us, especially in entertainment, especially in the game, we're all in a situation where, like, oh, we only black person in the room.
So I think this is where I really feel like Alexa's point rings the most true for me, in that, and you just said it, right? Women are the most marginalized, cross section of our community, and as the most marginalized, they have to deal with, obviously, the race conversation. But then also they have to deal with, and you highlighted this a lot last week, the patriarchy. And so I think that there are so many intersections of trauma that you guys face that it can feel like, wait, but who's looking out for us? And that's not to be discounted, and I want to affirm that. But I also want to make sure that we affirm it with some data so that we can start talking about solutions.
And also think when one thing to your point, when a lot of the BLM movement was really active and going on and stuff, the WNBA women's protests were a lot more loud and pronounced versus like the NBA players. Like the WNBA players, they
were loud and pronounced.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, exactly.
Not versus, because the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. But that's kind of like to her point. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but then back up against the corner, working at the NBA and working at the NFL may be harder than working at the WNBA.
But that's the thing though. So here's a lot of the players
it's
are
harder for who?
Yeah, the players in
black
these
men as
leagues,
players.
No, but the players in these leagues, for example, with the NFL, like when Cap was taking a knee, a lot of these guys are conditioned to think like, oh, well, if I do this, it's over or whatever. But the thing is, you can't recreate a LeBron James. You can't, like, you feel what I'm saying?
But also you have a value system, an ideology, and an ethic.
Yeah, right.
And what the women of the WNBA showed is that they have a value system, an ideology, and an ethic.
Mm-hmm.
What the men of the NBA and NFL showed is that they do as well. However, that is more rooted in what they can make, how they can earn, and how they can keep the status quo.
Right.
As opposed
But that makes sense for black folk who are dealing with not having like money from the 1800s. And that I think that we always ignore the economic part of a black millionaire right now.
No, I just noted it. I said that was the value system. Right. If your value system is economics before anything else, right? Well, then that's what you're gonna hang on to. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the problem here, is that, especially in America, is that we hang on to this notion of I need to have a certain amount in order to do a certain thing, as opposed to I need to do a certain thing that matters. And I think that that's where I got to hang it up for the women of the WNBA. They put it all on the line. They were like, we don't care about anything else but this issue right here. We won't play.
But there was I had a conversation
they have
on
a lot
Twitter.
less money to lose.
No, but hold on. I had a conversation with a dude that played in the league in the NFL. We went back and forth on Twitter during this whole thing, and he was saying like they'll just bring in replacement players, and it's like that's not true. That's not true for everybody. You understand what I'm saying? Like you can't just bring in a Patrick Mahomes and replace Patrick Mahomes. You understand what I'm saying? Like that there's certain like LeBron James is not that. They're not making them.
Okay,
in a
but
lab
let's keep
somewhere.
this on Ashley, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let me. I do want to touch on that because Ashley is actually a friend of mine.
Right.
And I'm just want to unequivocally say she would not commit straight out.
And that's another point I wanted to make. Bringing it back to Ashley, it's currently being ruled as a suicide. It's not an official cause of death yet, but they're saying that she killed herself by hanging. Right? No. We have to acknowledge that black women, we have some of the lowest rates of suicide, first of all, out of any demographic, and we also, if we do commit, it's not by hanging ourselves. We're not doing that. And we're not going to travel to Zanzibar on our birthday with our fiance and hang ourselves on our birthday.
Right. After being proposed to.
As well. Yeah. We're not doing that. So there's no verdict, there's no indictment or anything yet, but allegedly her fiance murdered her.
Yeah, I think so. 100%.
And I think so too, honestly. Like all roads are pointing there, but it's still alleged. It's alleged.
And after just not talking to, like, the parents had to hear from the hotel, not from him.
He didn't even reach out to her parents for days.
11 hours after the whole situation.
And now he's not talking to them at all, and refuses to pay to send her body back to America.
And was tweeting about
days
stocks and
after.
shit.
Yes, he's like some crypto bro.
Yeah.
He's like some crypto.
Yeah.
So
red pill bro.
This brings an important safety point up. I'm sorry about your loss, but I know you know her.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Black folks specifically, because I will defend all day that we can move in whatever space we want to move in. But one of the things I was taught in college was that you really got to be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you got to know that as Black folk, right?
Yeah.
And that is a lesson that's taught. Do you know what I mean? Like how I respond to a cop and how a young dude who grew up with me responds to a cop is very different. And I think as we advance, that's one of the things that we got to teach our youth a little bit, right? Because we now have access to go to Zanzibar. Wasn't nobody going to Zanzibar 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? When I was in my 20s, 10, you know, there wasn't nobody like, yo, we go to Dubai. That wasn't happening, right? But you got to look at these places and where you're going and think, are you really welcome there? For example, like a lot of people are going to Japan right now. I went to Korea. And there was a big hip hop scene, but they also did not like Black people. That was just the truth. And the energy force around me,
which
was
is
like a love for hip hop, breakdance, and all that. But like looking at Black people, it felt weird as hell to me, right? And I was like, I'm good on Korea.
Because they fetishize the culture, but not necessarily the
Look
people.
At K-pop.
But I don't think this is about where she went. This is about her going to Zanzibar with someone that she's in love with.
And trusted.
So this doesn't even really have to do with people of Zanzibar. This has to do with him taking her to another country, murdering her allegedly, and now evading responsibility because Zanzibar doesn't abide by the same laws as America.
I mean, Zanzibar has a judicial system, and
sure.
And so I don't want to discount that. I think that I think there are so many facts. This happened a week ago.
About a week ago.
About a week ago. So I think that there are so many facts that still have to be kind of like
absolutely. There's not the full story is not out yet, but just the piece of the puzzle we do have. It's still alleged that her.
I mean, listen. At a baseline, like rest in peace. I'm sorry, for your loss, sure. And also, I think we do need to have a better conversation around how do we protect Black women? Because even if she felt, even if she felt like, she wanted mixed kids, she didn't like Black men, whatever that was, right? Whatever that was rooted in. Whether it was rooted in some experiences or not, right? She still is owed a duty of safety, and she still owed the grace to come to a better understanding of who she is and who Black men are.
And that's the other thing too, like with the responses that we were talking about on Twitter and stuff like that. It's more like incel dudes that have been saying that. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's what I think.
Yeah, I think. So there was one, like for example, there's one specific dude made videos, right? And I called him out for that. I was like, yo, you a weird ass for this. Yeah. Like, cause you're on a stream singing, so like you're talking crazy. You sound dumb.
Yeah.
And it's like you're talking about her saying, okay, she want to make kids. Okay, cool, whatever. She said something about what was the other quote that you said?
She said that, and this was a
Black dudes embarrassing her.
She said,
but Black women talk about us all the time in that way, saying like, "Here y'all go, like it's like a running joke, like don't embarrass us." You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's like, bro, she wasn't saying anything. She used to date Black men.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and
I'm not making any excuses for any of the statements, but I just think that it doesn't discount the fact that she should be protected.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's the other thing too. Like, she shouldn't. Even if she said, "Okay, I want to make kids," that doesn't mean she deserved to die.
She does not deserve to die.
Like, I mean, that's what I meant by like putting the guns down. Like, we have to really look at each other's backstories and be like, "Yo, she might have grown up in a certain way where she feels that way."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like people grow up and they could like redheads. They could like, they could grow up and feel like, oh, they feel like they like this. You know what I mean? Like
redheads.
Like that.
And we used to joke about that too. By the way, like I used to clown her for. She's like, yeah, I like white. I was like, bro, come on, man. Like, you like white guys.
There's plenty of Black women with white men right now.
Oh, no, for sure.
Living great
Serena
lives.
Serena is living her fantastic life.
First of all, you love who you love. And Black, I mean, back to your point earlier, like, in my mind, Black is not necessarily just like your skin color. Black is a value system.
Yeah.
And so, like, there are Black people that I will absolutely not fuck with because their value system is rooted in colonialism and capitalism.
Right.
But if your value system is rooted in collective, like, freedom and liberation for my people, then I'm with you.
Right.
And I know I know white people, specifically Irish people, Italian people, who like are with us. And so I've never like just made through a dividing line based on race.
Yeah.
Okay, well, moving on from that very heavy topic, we're going to jump into our run that back. segment. And today we are talking about Trump versus the Pope. So apparently Trump is beefing with the Pope. The president has become the first U.S. leader to publicly lock horns with the head of the Roman Catholic Church in modern times. And for weeks, the pontiff had voiced veiled criticism of Trump's immigration policies, but it was the Pope's criticism of the U.S. war in Iran that drew the president's ire, leading to a Truth Social post that criticized Leo for being weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy. And Leo is the Pope currently, and he's an American Pope. He's the first American Pope.
From Chicago, right?
Is he from Chicago?
I think so. Yeah, I think
He's from Chicago,
right?
but he's also a head of state. The Vatican is its own country.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is just another example of U.S. intervention into international, conversations that really don't have any bearing on the United States.
Every day it's something with this dude. That's the crazy shit. Because, like, y'all are both parents. So y'all kids were babies at one point. You always got to watch babies. You always got to pay attention to them. I had a little cousin. You put him down, boom, he's gone. One of my nephews, bouncing off the wall all the time. Literally, that is what this person is. And he's 80-something years old. It's every day is something with this dude.
Yeah.
And he posted a photo like a week or so ago, right before this, of him as Jesus. Like, what are we doing here?
I mean, this is America. This is America. It's my partner Ken always says that the America is like the big-headed, big baby with a big tool running around just smashing. Doesn't know what it's doing.
Right.
And so, and again, I said this before. Trump didn't happen to America. He happened because of America.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, like, what he's talking about, half of this place is in agreement with. They're like,
More than
yeah,
half,
go ahead.
more than half.
Yeah.
Talk your shit, Trump. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that when he comes for another head of state, when he comes for a religious leader like the Pope, like, he feels empowered. He feels like, hey, when he posts a picture of himself as Jesus, like, I don't think that he sees anything wrong with it.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
Right.
He doesn't.
And which is the issue, and a lot of people behind him, literally and figuratively behind him, are like, yeah, man, like, keep
they
doing
don't
shit.
fuck with it either.
Exactly. Like, you get these people that are just yes men and women around him, and then the second somebody criticizes him, they're small-minded, they're dumb, they're this. It's always everybody else. It's always he's.
I really like to break down like the psychology behind it a little bit more because I think that we on the left are losing because we're not really looking at psychology. We're like, he's a baby. That's an easy thing to say,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Whereas like this is a guy who took out an ad for the Central Park 5 30 years ago. He has been using his money to create media sensation. Obama's not from here, right? That's how his presidency started, right? By becoming viral, the same thing we talked about in Beat One. Shout out to the writers. Y'all linked this together nicely. But that's what he's doing. That is what he's doing. The post of even the Obamas, the crazy one, like looking like monkeys, right? He doesn't care because he knows that his base will go, right? In the House, he is fully in control of their houses, being like, oh, we get to say it now. Right? And that is the piece that I think the left isn't admitting enough, because I'll never forget being in Harlem for the first Hillary Trump debate. This is Harlem. We on 120th Street. The Apollo's 2 blocks away, right? Me and my girl are sitting there, and they asked Hillary a question, and she answered. And we had no freaking clue what she said. Right? It was about healthcare or something. And she was like, well, healthcare, da-da-da-da-da. They asked Trump a question. He said, what a nasty woman. And the whole bar was like, oh! Right? So, like, he is creating emotion rather than fact and linear fact. Right? And the emotion created is how you make films, how you make music, how you make hip-hop. All of that's like, just turn their emotion, and now they're following. Right? And he's good at that.
But also, he's also he's giving the blueprint for American success. right? He's saying, no, you don't get ahead in America by doing things the right way. You get ahead in America by doing things this way. And think about and Dave Chappelle talked about this. Think about that first debate where they asked him about taxes, and they were like, you don't pay your taxes. You don't pay your taxes, and he was like, of course not.
Because I'm smart.
Yeah, that's the point.
Because I'm smart.
Right.
And then do people remember that he has no political background?
Zero.
He started off in reality TV.
Right.
Real estate.
I'm talking about his visibility. Visibility. He had a show, and everybody knew him for saying, "You're fired."
Yeah.
Like, come on. He knows how to play this game.
Right.
He's a businessman, yes, but visually, Trump became popular from being on reality TV.
But you know what? We didn't do our job because, like you said, he took out an ad on the Central Park 5 30 years ago, right? And he's been the racist, super animated version of the worst things of America for the longest, right? However, he's done commercial spots and he's had the support of people, not before he became political, but he was getting cosigns from the Diddy's, from the Jays, right? He was getting cosigns from all of our entertainers. And I think that we don't do a good enough job of gatekeeping, right? Who we allow to participate in our community.
Everybody's invited to the barbecue.
Yeah.
As long as you got some money and you can do a little dance.
Or you do something cool.
But I think it's even bigger than that. I think it's going back to the early point about economics, right? Like, I really, really, really do think that a culture that has had money for 500 years in this country is different than a culture that just came up.
Yeah,
sure. Like, we act as if we're up. But we don't have great stocks, right?
But that's you also got to remember, they burned down,
every time we tried.
Every single time. Like, every single time we started catching up, they're like, oh, shut that down. You know what I mean?
But the point, you're right. You're making a point about maturity. Right, and so how does somebody or something or a culture mature, right, within a system? And I don't know. Then it becomes a question of, should we mature in this system, or should we burn this system down? And if we mature in this system, then we just become the people at the table doing the same thing. Right.
We have to burn it down.
We have to burn it down.
Absolutely.
Well, if you look at an office, right, which is a general office, I don't care what you do for a living, with a boss sitting behind closed doors, right, the assistant outside, and a whole bunch of workers. The workers will naturally think that the boss is trash. Right? Because the workers are sweating, you know what I mean? They're taking emails, they're running around. You just do a production office, right? Everybody's working, you're like, that boss doing nothing. But that boss might be dealing with a whole other thing, right? And I think my goal for the black community, even in me founding companies and, doing all that stuff, is that we have to get to ownership stake. Because I think the biggest problem with us is that we're not at ownership stake, so that when the Diddy's, the Jays, whatever, meet a bazillionaire that owns half of media. At the time, he was Miss Universe pageant, Miss America, those were big plays. That's like us right now, the little podcast, somebody who owns Netflix walking in the door. Right? We'd be like, hey, what up, bro? We would say, what up? Right? We might say, what up? Right? Because Netflix might put us on. But Netflix might put us on right now. Yeah. Right? And that's where our people need to give each other a break, but also understand, like, how we are building. Like, even us sitting here is us building harsher than we were doing before. Because I feel like this is really the way. Right? Because our way in is like the fact that we have a capital that other people don't have. We have the ability to have conversations in culture that is different, and that's what's.
We need to do that and burn down the systems in place, like old dude in that factory. But this happened like 2 weeks ago, where he burnt down.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, love that. He burnt down.
Wait, say it again.
Love that. It was a factory,
like a Walmart or something, right?
It was like a Walmart factory, and one of the workers was like, "Yo, pay us a living wage, but since you won't." And he lit
the whole factory on fire, caused almost $1 billion worth of losses, basically, by burning down the building and the merchandise that was inside. And honestly, that's how it needs to be done.
But how does that help us, though?
America agrees with that being how it needs to be done, because look at the Boston Tea Party. That is what America is built on. Burning down. doesn't matter.
No.
It's the concept.
Wait.
It's the
Wait.
concept.
What?
What I'm trying to say is the concept of to get what you want, you have to burn down the systems that are in place. You cannot just be like, oh, please, can you please give us some more power? Can you please?
No, you gotta
Because
take the system.
You
No,
have
you
to
gotta burn
take
it.
it.
You know the
and
Boston
part of
Tea
it is
Party
burning it
was,
down
though?
sometimes.
The Boston Tea Party was a drug deal going bad.
What?
The Boston Tea Party was there was opium coming in from they were smuggling opium through these teas, and they were taxing. So there was a basically like a tax war, and so burning down those boats and burning down the boats and burning all that tea was the result of these opium wars that the colonialists were having with the locals.
Yeah.
So the Boston Tea Party is not this, we're paying taxes and so we're going to burn everything down. It was like America's built off the backs of illegal trade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That is what it's done.
You learned, I was today years old.
Me too.
When I learned that the Boston Tea Party was a drug deal, but I also think, like I'm from Panama and like Noriega was bringing a whole bunch of drugs into the country, and Reagan was pissed and like he was cool with it, they're not cool with it. Like we did a doc on Chicago, right, where the gang members were like, hey, the guns ain't coming from us. Right. The Sinaloa cartel is funded by the CIA, right? That was the truth. We found it, the real documents. We're funding the CIA, funding Sinaloa, cartels bringing in guns. Hey, you can operate drugs.
Right.
They can't operate drugs. You're allowed to kill them. You're not allowed to kill them. Which gets to your original point, which was like Trump is showing us the world what's real in terms of like how this business American dream operates. And I think the harshest thing for me, realizing the last 10 years, like watching Trump really, is like, this is a shady country. And we think it's like, we gonna vote and everything gonna be all right. And I don't think that's the way.
But our elders and ancestors, from Dr. Clark, from Kwame Ture, they've been telling us this for generations.
Yeah.
And it, unfortunately, it's not until like somebody like Trump, because I mean, we were being told this unfortunately, when Obama was president, right? Mm-hmm. When Obama was president, and unprecedented amounts of people were being deported. Mm-hmm. We were bombing Iraq. Mm-hmm. We were bombing the hell out of the rest of the world, building up military bases all across Africa, right? Like, this is America. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just taking it back to close out on Trump versus the Pope. I mean, this spat is petty. It gives like, oh, you're mean. Well, you stink because and also
but the Pope took the high road.
Yeah, they both retracted it. Trump was like, basically said, I don't have no beef with him. I have the right to disagree with him, and the Pope said the same thing. Like, I don't give a about them calling each other fat and stink and whatever. Like, who cares?
Right. 50 of Marlon Wayans and the Pope and Trump. All in 1 week. First, the fat boys break up. Now this.
All right, moving on to our next segment titled "What Did I Just Miss?" So, Lil Wayne is disappointed in his non-GOAT treatment. His quote says, "It's truly a humbling experience when events like Coachella and the Grammys come around, and like clockwork, I'm uninvited and uninvolved. I appreciate my position or space I hold in your heart and mind. Because you're the humbling experience." That's okay. That's
his tweet.
It did make sense.
He's trying to make sense.
He's basically saying, he's humbled and he's timeless, and thank you.
But also, why isn't he being recognized?
Yeah,
exactly. And that's the point I want to make. I don't necessarily know the ins and outs of what Lil Wayne has been going through and doing the past, like maybe decade. Mm-hmm. But from what I've heard and what's been put into the media, he's been allegedly on drugs, acting erratic when he was booked for certain high-level concerts. Mm-hmm. He wasn't showing up to rehearsals. He wasn't basically instilling good faith in the people that were sponsoring and putting these festivals, concerts together to honor him, right? To have him headline. So he kind of needs to take a look in the mirror and be like, hey, have I been showing good faith in the past decade of my career? Have I been showing up as the legend that I want to be recognized as?
Right.
And ask himself that. Because if you haven't, then no is not gonna recognize you as a legend. In our hearts, like he said, yeah, we all love Lil Wayne. I miss when Lil Wayne was remixing every song. I know some of the remixes by heart.
Amazing.
When he was remixing Poppin' by Chris Brown, he remixed everything. I could still spit those Lil Wayne verses. But if you want to be recognized like corporately at these award shows, on these festival stages, you gotta actually be reliable.
Yeah.
You actually have to show up, do a good performance. Don't have people wasting their money popping out to see you, and you don't know the lyrics. You're not really saying stuff. You don't look like you're sober or coherent. Like, come on, like we can't just be like,
Yeah. He
we
did.
can't just be sucking you off and you're not even like putting in the effort.
He did like lashing out about the Super Bowl when, and he's like, when that was taken from me, and it's like, nigga. So what ended up happening when he did that initially, people started like pulling up old performances or recent performances, and they're like, this is what y'all want on the Super Bowl stage. Like there's a scene where he's doing Pop That, and he's like, don't stop, and he's like screaming on stage. It's crazy. And I'm like, yo, just everybody's just watching him, and it looks horrible. And you have to think, the Super Bowl, that performance, everybody's watching. Like, everybody.
Honestly, I don't even care about like the artistic merit of whether or not the idea that, you know, this artist who's been celebrated for decades, right, as a GOAT, and he's made tons of money off of it. The fact or the idea that he would be complaining that a couple of award shows are not recognizing him is annoying.
Very.
It's annoying. It's annoying and tone deaf, especially for the artists who didn't show up for Black people when we were talking about
that
law
part.
enforcement,
That part.
right? And he was like, "What? I don't know anything about Black Lives Matter. What does that mean?"
Right.
So you know what, Wayne?
Yeah.
Award show. What does that mean?
Right. And there was one of the things people were saying was like, don't MAGA have a festival for him to headline?
Is he MAGA? Is he official?
Yeah.
He got pardoned.
He got pardoned with Trump. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So you know me, I'm a storyteller, so I'm always trying to figure out what the story is, right? So I remember in 2010, Nick Cannon produced a show that I directed called Son of a Gun, and it was the battle between whether or not Corey Guns would get signed to Lil Wayne.
Oh, I
or whether
forgot
or not
about that
he was going
show.
to Cannon.
Wow.
So which is like the predecessor to Love and Hip Hop and all that stuff, right? Like Viacom started doing like a lot of hip hop, you know, fancy reality. We didn't know storytelling as well, just to be honest. But the show looked good. Director was amazing. But I remember the reason why Corey Guns was having a problem was that Young Money was on the rise, right? And we got to give it up to Wayne because that Young Money era was bananas.
Yeah.
Bananas.
Like the mixtape
Crashing and burning together too.
First of all, Drake and Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
Like those like there was some genius inside of him, but there was obviously some trouble inside of him because allegedly, like I think this is fact. The gun went off and he almost died, you know. And then when he woke up, he wrote everything down. He purged it. He came back, and that's the lyricism that we know. But there is something, you know, because I got a bleeding heart for everybody. There's something going on with these artists, with like what they're going through in life. Like there's like it's hard to be in the entertainment business, period.
Yeah,
but like,
for sure.
there's something that's high level that's leading to this drug use and this like I'm not a big fan of this scissor use. You know what I mean? You ever, like taste scissor?
I was going to touch on that.
You ever like bromethazine? Like my kid got bromethazine.
Yeah.
Like I had to take it for a cough. Like and you taking it purposely.
Yeah,
that's
you
crazy.
Drinking it in a cup. Is bananas.
Yeah,
that's wild. Like and what is it doing to your brain? And you can see the decay in Lil Wayne over time.
You can see.
You know what I mean? Because age, it's like when a white person like is in the sun all the time and smoking cigarettes all day, and then the next thing you know, their face is trash.
Yeah.
Like if you taking a whole bunch of crazy stuff past the age of 30, your body just But then also like there's more legal trouble and more this and more that, and sooner or later you lost, bro. Yeah. So I wish I like Wayne. Period. Like I like the music; it makes me very excited, very happy. But I agree with you that like you gotta like it's a business.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's a business.
Yeah, and all those things are pitches. You know, honestly, like when you see people in like Variety and the trades and all the things like that, like all of that stuff is pitched the same way. Like you have to be active on like you know like these award shows. You know, are need to be pitched. So the idea that you know you're not making the cut for some invite, I don't have empathy for that. Now, I do agree with your point that these artists are suffering, but I think that humanity is suffering.
Yeah.
Artists as vessels in front of us are suffering in a very visible and very visceral way in front of us, because that's how they process in order to process art to us. But I think that all of us are suffering, so I don't have extra empathy for him. But I especially I'm just not necessarily, I don't care about, you know, your concerns about being celebrated at award shows. I am concerned about drug use. I am concerned about, you know, your mental health, the way that I am about all of humanity.
I agree with you on the pitch point, because if you think about like this T.I. beef, right? That music is so good that like I was getting ready to get hyped up last night, and I was like, "Yo, play Let 'Em Know."
Oh no, T.I.'s on a run right now.
Right,
I like
play
that.
Let 'Em Know.
I love
Right,
that. Yeah.
right? And that leads on my stream. That leads to all my old favorite T.I. tracks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You get Spotify to play one track, and I'm in the shower like, oh. And
Rubber band man. Right. Watch it.
Why I feel like I'm drug dealing in the shower,
Right.
bro? It's great, man. It's great. I got bags.
T.I. is on fire.
Yeah.
Right?
He's
But
invited to the Grammys.
He's invited,
Yeah.
and that's actually, and like his art, Wayne's art is actually what could take it right now.
Right.
Because I'm a Jay stan all day, but I will still listen to that battle verse with Jay. You know what I mean? It's a baby money. I'll take your baby money.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Right? It's a
Oh,
kidnap your
but
baby
wait, but Jay.
He bodied him.
Oh, yeah, I'm about to say.
Of course.
There's like 2-3 verses where he.
Jay always
Yeah,
ends
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Obvious. However,
Watch
that's why
What
he
You
is who he
Say
is.
verse.
Oh,
The joint on what's the name? Oh, I broke you, little nigga. Look, that whole joint is about.
the camera thing
Yeah.
just blew my mind. The opening of Otis is about Kane.
Oh, right, yeah, that was
That's
crazy.
insane.
That was crazy. That was
I
crazy.
sang that song a million times.
Yeah.
I never know.
Yeah.
Bro.
No, Jay
But-
is different. His
but
pen is
Also, when it
different.
comes to Wayne, go ahead, bro.
Sorry.
But also, what we want to say too, speaking of Hove, and I'm happy you said that, because we talk about, oh yeah, I'm from the era where our favorite rappers were drug dealers, and then they say y'all like rappers that are drug users. Wayne is totally the you know, linchpin for that. You
Yeah.
feel me?
Yeah.
Like he's the one that ushered a lot of that in. His whole,
true.
a lot of his raps were
Don't worry about what's in my cup.
yeah, just doing all of that, and then that you see that's how we get the young boys and everybody else, and these aren't good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Saying Wayne hip hop.
It's
They
bro,
can
like
get you on
talk-
drugs and you can't rap.
Listen, when you talk about influence, that is part of your makeup of your greatness. You know what I'm saying? And it's like if your influence is a negative influence, then that's something you got to carry too.
Like how we
Now-
all started dressing differently when Jay was like, put the jerseys.
Yeah, like there's lots of elements and components to it.
Yo, first of all, Jay-Z with platinum. Like, everyone was wearing gold chains.
Right.
And then,
right.
yeah, and then
right.
started
He
talking
ushered
about
that
platinum.
in.
Yeah, so-
And he's just like, yeah, I'm. You got to look at those things, man. And then it's like it's almost like a branches on a tree. You know what I'm saying? Like you look at the things that and the people that come from that. And yeah, we got Future. That's cool. But then you got to then talk about a lot of the negative that comes with that. That what the other artists mean. What I mean, you know, like
I
Young
mean,
Boy.
Future with the whole toxic relationships.
Yeah, and it's funny. It is funny for us,
Right.
but at the same, and Future is still seems to have his sense about him or whatever. But then you look at a Young Boy, and Young Boy is like a viral sensation, but he has a lot of incels in his fan base. You know what I mean? And that's not good for rap. That's not good for the culture.
But right on back to Wayne, we got to look where our power is, right? And yes, there's power in that tweet, and he might be preparing, okay? But if he dropped a song right now that said the same thing with a Wayne beat, you know what I mean? He could complain on the song. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like what Jay say before Jay ran the Super Bowl? What was that? What's that line? It's so good, bro. It's such a good line. We tell the NFL we in stadiums too.
Oh yeah.
What?
Right.
That's before he was running it.
Yeah.
Right? Then all of a sudden Rock Nation's taking it over. Tell the NFL we in stadiums too.
But also,
Right? What?
also Wayne complaining about that was simply just him being from New Orleans and him being whatever. Kendrick Lamar, there's nobody that had a better year than him. Like,
Yeah, it was a monster
there was
year.
nobody that was more deserving of that spot than him.
Monster.
So, and that was the whole debate. Like, people talking about Wayne
I'm
versus
just not
K-Dot.
into grown ass men
Yeah,
complaining about stuff
it's
that's not
real
important.
corny. It is absolutely corny. It's like it's like a cycle of pity every like.
Yeah, you got people in your city that's not eating, that can't, they don't have a
Yeah.
place
Listen,
to live.
Right.
Wayne, go and get that lady that has served 18 years
Right.
in jail so far for giving her baby cow's milk during Katrina, when there was nothing to eat, she's in jail for giving her baby cow's milk.
That's crazy.
Go and put your money to get her a better lawyer and get that lady out. All four of her other kids have grown up in foster care. Do something
crazy.
like that.
Help the
You know what I'm
Louisiana
saying?
County clerk.
Exactly. You worried about they had a Super Bowl in New Orleans and they invite me. Do something else. Do something for New Orleans that we can dig up and be like, oh, Lil Wayne is actually helping his community instead of complaining, because that lady is still in jail.
And Turning Point is a thing. You could have headlined that Charlie Kirk festival. That could have happened.
There's like 7 people there.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like headliner Turning Point, Lil Wayne, and then it would have been Kid Rock. You know, like be among your people if that's what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like
been a performer at Turning Point.
Listen,
that would have been wild.
Kanye too. They could have. Turning Point literally could have put Kanye and Lil Wayne on the bill. Why? I'm curious. Like if you parade around and MAGA this, whatever else, like where are they at when you want to be,
recognized,
like platformed or whatever? You feel me? Like they're not doing that. It comes back to us. Why don't y'all want me now? You know what I mean?
Well,
but it's like no
people at Turning Point.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's what you chose. You know what I mean? You didn't. Nobody told you to say you didn't know what Black Lives Matter was on camera. Nobody told you to go and say slavery was a choice. Right. These other different things.
Is he sober when he's saying that stuff?
But it don't matter. It's just like
it don't matter. Yeah,
it don't matter. Like.
Together.
I mean, but also, I don't know that not being sober is an excuse.
It's not.
I've been drunk before.
Yeah,
before.
And they always say a drunk man's words are a sober man's thoughts.
Yeah,
like, so you being whatever, like, you want to ostracize yourself and whatever. Like, oh yeah, black people, I don't know this, da 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 da. My then Cole, go be with them. Right. Do what they do. Go to headline Turning Point and let us know how it goes.
Right.
You feel me? Like that's how I see it. Like if that's what you're choosing, go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, nigga, do your thing. And it's like, wait a minute. That's not what I signed up for. No, it is what you signed up for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how I feel.
But you also know they know that if they're on stage at some Turning Point event or something like that, they know that the people are not necessarily going to be entertained with them.
Right.
They're going to be entertained at them.
Yeah.
And that is a very different feeling.
Yes.
And I think that
100%.
These artists don't embrace that enough in order, and so that it doesn't inform their value system. And so if they embrace that notion that, wait a minute, like these are not my people.
Right.
Right? My people are over here. So how do I get over here?
Right.
They don't do enough for that.
They don't. The money start blinding them. Yeah. They just start seeing dollar signs. Anyways, moving on to who asked for this. Jersey Shore Family Vacation is ending. Did we even need another season? Did y'all even know this show was on?
Never seen an episode of that show in my life.
Of what? Jersey Shore?
Yeah.
Oh, you make a mistake.
But this is Jersey Shore.
Nah.
Jersey Shore Family Vacation, though. This is a spinoff from Jersey Shore.
Nah, bro.
Right?
Go to Netflix right now as a cult.
I can't do it.
Sally Ann Salzano is a genius, bro.
I can't do it.
Like, I'm from Jersey.
I would agree. Jersey Shore was phenomenal TV. Man. Phenomenal TV.
It created a lot of and you got to know, like, the same way, because I'm a reality producer, right? So the same way we watch Citizen Kane, and I'm not, Sally Ann, I love you, baby, but the same way Citizen Kane is watched in film school, you got to watch original reality that did it really well. They really dropped into a culture of kids.
It was niche.
What? On the Jersey Shore.
I mean, you can see it today in Temptation Island.
Yes,
that,
but this was a really honest. You would like there are scenes of people driving drunk, having fights on the boardwalk. And I'm from Jersey. Like I'm from Jersey, very close to the shore. So like I'm exit 120. They was hanging out at exit 100. That means it was 20 miles away. It's like where I went to prom, all that. So I know all those kids. Yeah. Right. I grew up with a lot of that energy. Right. I'm not that energy. I grew up with a lot of that energy. And the way they dropped in and gave you an honest look.
Yes.
At whatever the catchphrases was, I'm a friend of Situations. Mike and I did a show together right after he left Jersey Shore, right before Family Vacation. And as a producer, as an entertainer myself, I really like the fact that they were able to take the brand and move it into something new, because economically what started to happening with reality is that Love and Hip Hop, for example, there was a study done that the audience of Love and Hip Hop did not change, it grew older.
Yeah.
Right?
I love Love and Hip Hop.
That it wasn't
My wife
a 15-year-old.
made fun of me. She used to be like,
It's a good show.
You got these degrees, you act all super highbrow over here, and then you come home and you watch Love and Hip Hop. And I was like,
but Mona and
duality.
Stephanie created Mona and Stephanie, and part of some of my companies created a soap opera inside of that
I
world.
like how you
that we
did
knew
in some of
very
my
well.
companies.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, some of the
He's been
companies that I
stunting the
worked
whole time, actually, low-key.
Yeah, keeping it his bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to turn up today. Like Jersey Shore and Love and Hip Hop, no one gives love to. Like as much as they should.
Yeah.
But when I tell you that I was working at Bravo, my first season of Love and Hip Hop was being shot, and the white DPs were coming back to our set and be like, they're shooting on little cameras. I can't believe they're doing a car scene. I remember exactly who the dude was. That dude would beg for a job right now with us, right? Like he would beg for it
Look
right
in the
now.
camera and tell them.
Begging right now.
Yeah.
What Mona did out
Yeah.
there is
Jeremy?
a monster. It wasn't Jeremy, no, it wasn't Jeremy. I know it, Jeremy, bro. I got to fight when I leave here, bro, because of y'all.
Todd?
Sir, what up? So Todd, no, I remember his name because he quit another job for me. But long story short, The Look. 3 years later, I'm no longer working on New Jersey Housewives, and I'm watching a Ronin and a slow-mo entrance and long lens and dropped off focus and reality shows didn't look like this. Back to Jersey Shore. Jersey Shore was so freaking authentic that we fell in love with it as a culture. You know what I mean? Watching a bunch of kids party. The only thing I could liken it to is when we used to watch Spring Break way back in the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like booty shake contest, Fat Joe with his shirt off. You know what I mean? It was like, damn, this is honest as shit.
Yeah.
Right? So being like friends with Mike and knowing Snook, like I love him and I wish they was on forever because I think they were really culturally relevant.
So I was always entertained by the reality TV show, but then I was also always concerned about where it was leaving the cast and then where it was leaving the audience because it felt like there was this. It felt like everybody was damaged by the scale. So these shows would start at one point. They would go to a scale of popularity. People would get some money. They get these hosting gigs, but then they would just become more of some of the challenges that they had, as opposed to being better, right? And then the audience would start to normalize these behaviors. And so as a society, we start to normalize the things that are put in front of us all the time. And I was always concerned about that as a producer on these shows. Like, how do you is there a conversation about that? Is it reconciled, or is it just something that's kind of like
Psychology is studied now.
Gotcha.
Back in the original days of the business, there wasn't a psychologist that you talked to, right? There was a very famous case where in Beverly Hills, a man was trying to, and it wasn't like the lower scale. It wasn't like, oh, they're partying and they're having too much sex. It was the higher scale became a problem.
Right.
Where a man, I don't remember his name, so rest in peace to his brother, committed on Beverly Hills Housewives because he was trying to look like he was fully Beverly Hills. And he was paying for events and doing things because his wife wanted it. Sure, you could have the Learjet. Sure, you could have this. And it wasn't that. And Mike will tell you very openly because Mike, the situation from Jersey Shore, because he runs a rehab facility now called I think it's called Archangel, right? And him and his wife are really into that because he realized that during that time, the culture of drugs, I'll let him tell his story, was so big that I can't remember what he was on, but like he was constantly on something, right? And like he, I think the famous story is like he crashed a car or something like that, like a Lamborghini, and left it on the side of the road, right? He got into tax trouble and all this other different sort of stuff because he wasn't focused. Because you're right that the original reality thought it was the real world. Right. Which was just like, we just want to document.
Yeah.
Right? Which is what it was, right? But then sooner or later, we became really good story makers as producers to be like, oh, shit. If we take this shot and that shot and this shot and that shot, and we started creating like real drama that the audience was in love with because the soap opera died, Dallas died, Knots Landings died. Yeah. That's what we became. 9 o'clock became what our parents used to watch on Falcon Crest and all that. So it was the same thing, which was like, oh my God, Donna Carrington here. Psh, JR is dead. But that's how reality rose. Yeah. Those shows dying is how we came up. But you're absolutely right that everyone who's in reality will tell you some heat about how they felt to keep up an image or take drugs or like this, like that. So as a producer, I'm going to be honest, I do a lot more comedy now than I do conflicts. Right? Because the conflict stuff, I'll be straight up and down. I will not lie to this camera. I saw the conflicts from my set come into my life.
Yo, let me tell you a story. I was working with this. I was managing this artist, and she was offered a role on the show, a popular show, and so she was like, all right, so I need you to be on the show too. And I was like, I can't do that. And so she was like, please, they won't let me if my manager's not on the show. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, like what do I have to do? She was like, you just have to do a phone call. You do a phone call and then that's it, right? And I was like, all right, I'll do a phone call. So we arranged the phone call that's being recorded for this TV show, for this reality show. And I'm pretty, like, my baseline is pretty chill. Mm-hmm. So we're on the phone and she's like, yo, what's going on? I'm like, oh, I just booked a show at SOB's. I'm from New York. I was born and raised in Brooklyn. Like, a show at SOB's is not a big deal. Right? So, like, you literally just...
I actually thought he was going to say something else.
I didn't know where he was going.
Yeah.
And he was like, doing SOB's.
Yeah, especially the time like he's talking about.
No, but hear me out.
Nice to meet you.
I was like, so I just booked this show at SOB's. And she was like, SOB's? Oh my gosh, word, She started going crazy, and I'm like, word, yeah, that's crazy, right? And I started seeing myself responding because I needed to respond. I needed to match her energy for the TV show. And so I was like, and as soon as we got off the call, I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm not signing this paperwork.
Right.
I'm not, like, I was like, I became something that I'm not.
Yeah.
What show was it?
I can't.
Was it my show?
I can't.
So
you know me already?
I can't.
Did I call you? I trying to get you to sign the police, bro?
I can't.
So the funny thing is something similar, right? So I was doing a sketch comedy show, and we had a lot of different people in it. There was a megastar that was on my sketch comedy show. Mm-hmm. This same megastar was filming Love and Hip Hop at the time, and she did not like what they were having her do. Mm-hmm. She's like, I don't really get along with these people. They got me fighting and this and that. And I was telling her, I was like, look, I hear you. I get it.
There's only one megastar.
There's only one megastar.
I'm not. Look,
literally.
I'm not saying anything. Anyway, she's just like, yo, I don't like how they're doing me. Blah blah blah. I told her, I said, look, if you do this for however long you got to do it, whatever your plan is, the next step, use this to get to that next step. Just do it and get out. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're gonna have you on here. This is gonna be a show that's gonna be a big show. People love you already. Mm-hmm. Just go in there, be yourself, whatever, and let that just carry you into the next thing. And she's like, all right, cool. The funny thing was, she's like, are you flirting with me? And I was like, no. I was like, then I had to think to myself, I was like,
so funny.
Low key flex.
I'm like, am I? Like, but then I'm like, all right, get out of here. Like, let's just go back to the. But you just made me think of that because it's like reality TV. You feel me? Like, not necessarily because it's like they want to set you up to do whatever. And I was supposed to be part of this group. And this particular group, they were about to do this reality thing, documentary thing at BET. I had left the group.
You and BET okay?
No.
Okay.
It was so I leave the group, and the person that was the figurehead of that group, he and I weren't getting along. And then I get a call and it's like, yo, we doing this thing over BET, we want you to. And I was like, wait, time out. Why do you want me to? He was like, well, you was there in the beginning, and plus, you and. I'm like, time out. So you want me and this beef to like, pause.
Yes.
You want this playing out, on camera? I was like, bro, I'm not with that. Like, I'm not some chatty. You know what I'm saying? Like to be no. Like I'm supposed to be arguing with this on camera and fighting and all that. No, I was like, I'm not. I'm like, if you want to talk in person, 1-on-1, cool. But I'm not going to be part of your situation. If you guys have a situation, then let it happen.
Right.
Why do you need me for what, quote unquote, drama?
Right.
I'm like, bro, that shit sounds soft as hell. Get off my phone.
Yo, it's so hard. It's so hard.
But
right?
circling back to Jersey Shore, I think that.
Oh yeah, we definitely be very. We'll veer off on something, right?
You got to wrap up.
We absolutely will.
Oh, wait, you got another point to make?
I got one. Okay,
Go ahead.
Oh, you got another point?
I got one.
He wants to stun on us one more time. I told the story, so he's like, "Oh, you want to talk about megastars? Let me tell you something.
When I was with Michael
Y'all
Jackson,
might know him as Dave Chappelle, but I know him as Day Day.
DC.
When I was hanging out with Prince,
When I was a Prince, Charlie Murphy told my Hollywood story. That pancake shit. I'm the that made the recipe.
Beyonce, Beyonce had came through
Right.
with this song with me when I
That's
was
exactly what I was saying.
Oh my God!
Shit, I used to.
Super tangent. Anybody ever tell you like Wayne Barrow?
No.
Okay.
That's the first time I heard that. He good looking?
He likes it. Music. That's gonna be another next. That's gonna be the next story. But this one time.
So I heard I do like Wayne Barrett this bug. I
He
can't.
like, Malik, throw some R&B when y'all intro me, man.
Nah, I don't know what I was about to say, yo. I lost
You was
it.
about to stun on us
Oh, I'm
again.
sorry. Yeah, you was about to stun on us.
You were about to stun on us
really
one more
wasn't. I
time.
really had a
You was
good-
like, yo, I had another story. I got one more.
very
All right, make
logical
your
story.
point. Go ahead.
It was a very
Jersey
logical
Shore,
story.
Snooki.
Shore,
He's on one of the several shows that I produced.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what
exactly.
I'm saying? You know, my IMDb is Rashid J.
Right.
I think the question, I'll just wrap up the question, was like, did we need another one of these? And I got it. Thank you. I'm back. You said, yo, you don't want to be on a show because of beef, and I was saying, yo, it's so hard because what those shows are based off of trying to capture real life energy,
Right.
right? And the benefit of the old school way of Jersey Shore in the real world is they just shot everything.
Yeah.
They had a camera on them the whole time. And then when this got highbrow, the look and feel of the hills and
Yeah.
that became like, yo, we can only shoot from a 10-hour day.
Yeah.
We got an hour in the morning, an hour and back, and we're gonna need you and you at 2 o'clock.
Right.
Because that's when we got the cameras.
Yeah.
Right? Because now we shooting, because back in the day they was giving producers cameras. That's how I came up.
Right.
Stunned. Shooting a camera for non-union,
Right.
you're paying $100 a day. You understand? Oh, look what I captured.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, look how crazy it is, because that's what documentary is supposed to be. But reality TV is not documentary. And I think for black folk, that's what I was getting to. For black folk, it's very tricky because we'd like it to be documentary, right? And I've produced a lot of shows where, very frankly, a woman will say to me, hell no, I'm not covering that on my show.
Right.
This is my show. There's no way I'm going to talk about that. And I swear to God, this happened recently. Like 2 weeks later, I'm watching a podcast. And someone's like, so anyway, he cheated on me. And I'm like, yo, we had $1 million invested in your story. You could have said that there.
Yeah.
And but social media is the reason why reality is dying in a certain way, is that social media is very honest.
Yeah.
Cardi will honestly get on the phone for free.
Right.
And be like, yep, Offset, whack.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then
Just did
if
it
you
like
called her
yesterday.
and was like, yo, come 17 cameras all set up here and we gonna shoot a reality show about your whole life, she'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a reality show, so it's tricky. It's very, very tricky.
No, you're right. You're right. People go live and will give you all their
The
information. All
whole
those things.
thing, bro. And
There's
then
no need for
and
the
then the
cameras. You're right.
producer
Yeah.
is the one that's having you have people to do. Y'all actually got beef.
Yeah.
Right? I remember I came out of pocket on like my first Black Bravo show. I came out of pocket because I was the producer meant to sit in there and keep it moving. Right? And we was on a boat, FDR, I'll never forget. And it was like everybody was stressing me out. I was like, you're spending too much money. You can't have that boat for too long. You only got it for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? So we can only loop around, come on back. I had to make it look like a whole day, right? So I'm sitting there and I came really out of pocket. I felt like I was about to lose my job. But like these girls were just sitting there eating dinner. It wasn't nobody saying nothing. And I was like, hey, can we be honest and like say what we really feeling? Because y'all all been talking about behind each other's backs for like two months. Like it's
I
been
got the
crazy.
text from both of y'all.
Right? Like everybody got
This is what she
beef.
said. Look. Like, look at the talking. Look at it.
And then Suburbs left
Yeah.
and like Harlem came out. And I was like, damn, got beef with this.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like a table of women. And I was like, I'm on tape. I was like, because it was a finale.
Yeah.
It was like 6 cameras around, there's mics everywhere. I was like, oh, I definitely called her. I was like, because you get in the zone. You know what I mean?
Right.
You hype.
Right.
You like, nah, no. Let's get the scene. Let's get the scene. Let's get the scene.
Well, that's the problem, right? That's the inertia of reality TV, right? And that's what I was saying about my experience. I was like, I don't want to get caught up in the inertia of celebrating something that I don't really celebrate. Booking a show at SOBs is not a big deal. Why am I yelling about it?
Yep.
Right? You having beef with somebody is like, that's normal.
Yeah.
Why amplify it?
Yeah.
The inertia of the moment to create something that's profitable kind of like drives it as a driver. That's what makes it a bit dangerous for me.
But I think for us, and I'll let you move on because I know you're trying to move on. I think for us, the hard thing is like how we deal with commerce and art.
Yeah.
Right? Because one thing I had to deal with as a comic, factually, is I wasn't telling real stories on stage. Right? And what's the name? Kevin Hart's book talks about this. That he went up to Toronto and he attempted to get on SNL. right? And his manager was like, yo, don't go to the Toronto Comedy Fest. You're not ready to see Lorne Michaels. And he went up, it's in his biography, and he went up and he thought he did a kill set, but he didn't win the competition, or he didn't get Lorne Michaels' call to say, yo, come to SNL. He's never been in SNL. And his manager was like, hey, man, that story about the girl, was that a true story? And he was like, nah, made that up. And he was like, yo, that story about the crackhead, was that true? Nah, but you know how crackheads be, right? So he was telling a lot of jokes that weren't jokes, but when Kevin Hart started to admit that he's short and it's a problem, and his feet dangle when he's taking a poop, right? And then he said in his book, he said that the real thing was that he used to drink a lot. And I don't know if he still does, but him and his girl used to get in these drunk fights, right? And he took those drunk fights because he would have to call cops on his girl. Right? And he started doing comedy about real life energy, right? And if you look at Lemonade by Beyonce, that's a real album that kind of changed her career after, On the Run, right? Like, and that's really about heartbreak. How could you dare have that girl in my bed? Like, there's a part of art that is about fully exposing yourself. Whereas in the black culture, that's a problem for us. Like, that's you know what I'm saying? So we are always, as producers, we're always attempting to get the real. And I often tell people, like, yo, give us the real, or else this is going to feel fabricated, right? Because what ends up happening is that there's a lot of shows where it'll get produced and everybody will have the coolest conversation sitting in the living room. Yeah, we're gonna do it. Here come cameras. Click, 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 click. Right? And then it shuts down, and then you're like, yo, this show isn't even good. So now you're like, I don't know, maybe Malik should come and smack me in the face. Let's do something. Let's get the director to smack me. Malik, don't smack me in the face. But that becomes the problem, and I think we as people are having a real struggle into what we express in our art, because we are all based on this church theory of Sunday best, right? Like, we're supposed to be in the front row, there's a deacon, there's a hierarchy, we're supposed to act a certain way in front of the pastor and preacher. I think that's really in our blood, you know what I mean? So it's very hard, for me, it was very hard to do comedy on a stage and know that my parents were about to watch my real life over 20 years, right? I still ain't invited them.
Well, I think the general consensus here is that no matter if it's reality or if it's scripted or whatever, that all things come to an end. And Jersey Shore, the legacy or the universe of Jersey Shore is coming to an end now. And they had a great run, but it's now time to say goodbye. And I think that makes sense because the folks that really love Jersey Shore, like you said, we're getting older and not sure how interesting watching them go on vacations is for us.
Yeah, I mean, this is also business.
They did a spinoff called Rio Shore.
Rio Shore?
That takes place in Brazil. The clips were circulating on Twitter.
Was it trash?
Trash wouldn't be what I would use to describe. Juicy is a very interesting word.
Pornographic, NC-17.
Yes, they were on there.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Because Jersey Shore was the first show to really show culture of hooking up sex.
Oh, okay.
DTF.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't watch it?
I didn't watch it. So
it was very much about Yoshi's DTF.
Well, the Rio Shore was very much about that.
Well, that makes sense because in Rio they are very openly sexual. Yeah. Like, I went to Rio and the vibe out there is if you look at somebody too long, y'all should make out.
Oh.
And I lived with my friends.
Kiss?
Yes. And guys there, well, when we got there, we saw it happening, and we were like, oh, they actually just made out and then walked away from each other. And
that's crazy.
Their night.
That's really crazy. Because in some respects, kissing is more intimate.
Exactly. It's crazy to me, but out there it's not crazy to them. And then we were outside, and it was starting to happen to us. Like, guys would go in for the kiss and we'd be like, whoa, hey, yo, I can't. I'm so sorry, brother. I cannot do it. So, yeah, that's the thing.
They're going to be back. Jersey Shore going to be back.
In a different way? With different characters?
I think I always talk from a business perspective. I think the entire world, not with different, same characters, I think the entire world is trying to figure out what to put on TV right now, right? Because we're more powerful than TV is right now. Like, it's better to access us in short clips and then get us there than it is to expect that someone sits down at 8 o'clock and watches the show. That expectation is extremely hard right now. So advertisers are in a lurch. You see all these mergers and things happening. It's because don't nobody know what to put on TV no more. Everybody's like, yo, y'all ain't watching it. We spent $4 billion and y'all didn't watch it. Right? So, how do we get it from the social media to that? So, we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, now it's time for our moment of the week. And this week, Ice Spice was fighting at McDonald's, y'all.
Oh, man.
Why, we don't know. But I would just like to say, Yeah, sometimes you got to get it on at McDonald's. When I was growing up in Florida,
Not what you thought you were gonna say, right?
No.
when it's time, when I was growing up in Florida, right, and we wanted to fight after school, we went to the gas station. In New York, when it's time to fight, you fight at McDonald's. Like, that's what McDonald's is for. Like, McDonald's is fast food, but it's also the arena, right? And honestly, she was also dining in a McDonald's. You have to admit, if you're gonna sit down at McDonald's, you have to accept what type of energy comes with that. Because McDonald's is for you go to McDonald's and you go through the drive-through and you order your McChicken or your double with your large fries and your milkshake, and you gluttonously eat that in the car. That food shouldn't even make it back to your house.
You know, there's
You
an
eat
age
it in the car.
expiration date on eating McDonald's.
Yes,
Definitely.
Honestly, when someone, if you,
I can't do it, bro.
I can't do it either.
which is why you have to expect a fight to break out if you go sit down at McDonald's, because you ask somebody, hey, what you want to eat, and they be like, let's go to McDonald's. You're like,
McDonald's.
Did you see the video?
okay, yeah, I saw the video.
Yeah.
You're like, are you okay?
Oh yeah, somebody.
the video, and that girl, what's her name, Vaya? Whatever the girl who she fought.
She don't even need
knows?
fame.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it don't even matter.
Their accounts are not consistent.
No.
So in the video, she apparently tries to come and sit next to or sit in the same booth that they were in.
Yeah.
And
Who does?
the girl
that fought
that
Ice Spice.
fought Ice
Yeah.
Spice. She tries to sit down, and the girl she tries to sit next to doesn't move over. So then she starts, saying, "Well, where are you from?" And Ice Spice is like, I'm, from the Bronx.
I'm from
or wherever.
McDonald's. She said, I'm from
McDonald's.
Yeah.
And then the girl's like, she's like, well, you from LA? The girl's like, I'm from Chirac.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And then so the girl came over with the weird energy.
Yeah, very
in
weird
the first
energy.
place.
Yeah.
So to your point, she should expect maybe some weird energy in a public space.
If you sit in McDonald's, not any public space, McDonald's.
Yeah.
McDonald's is not a dine-in place anymore.
Not
okay?
the Happy Meals. I got kids, man.
McDonald's is not a place you go to dine in. You go to McDonald's right now in New York City. Who's in McDonald's sitting down?
Well,
So
Who's the demographic sitting
Wait,
down
so
at
it's very
McDonald's?
funny that you mentioned that. Y'all know the McDonald's is famous in LES.
Yes, for fights.
Yo, so
People go at the boxing ring.
There's a couple years ago, there was a dude that was in there, and he was getting jumped. I mean, these young boys was punching him in the face.
I saw
and all
that video.
and he stood there and just was eating the just
Crazy.
boom, 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 not moving. Something went off in his head. He grabbed the machete out his bag
Yes,
and got
started-
loose.
What?
Turned that into Sparta.
I'm telling you, McDonald's
Yo.
is bad vibes.
Yeah.
Look at the CEO. He just did a video where he didn't even want to eat his own food.
Right, took the little nibble.
Okay.
but Ice Spice held it down.
She did.
But
She
that's,
did.
that's what I'm leading back to, right? At McDonald's, you might get in a fight. Now, it's what it is. You shouldn't even be sitting and eating at McDonald's.
I don't
You
wanna
need to
think
go
McDonald's
through
is a fight
You
spot.
need to go through the drive-through, order your food, eat that shit in the car like a gluttonous pig.
Yeah.
And then go home or go where you're going. Don't even
This-
bring the food back to your house. McDonald's food shouldn't even make it back to your home.
Oh, yeah.
It deserves to be pulled up in the drive-through, ordered, eaten in the car, and
I wanna be safe.
on the way
I
to
think
your
this
next
is-
thing. You
I
should be
think-
sitting at McDonald's, but
Yeah.
McDonald's invites that type of energy.
And I was gonna say-
she went and fought, and
Yeah.
she's okay. She's safe. She's
Yeah.
She's not in the hospital. They had a little rumble outside, and that's just
No,
Which was all
Ice
bad.
Ice Spice was one. She was with it. She
Yeah.
was like, "Oh,
Very much so.
You coming with that energy?
McDonald's
I'm on that
energy.
time too." And then she went outside and carried it on. It
Yeah.
was like, "Oh wait, I'm not done." So I'm not mad at her for defending herself. I just would think that I think people from New York, we get too comfortable in LA, and I think that she would
Yeah.
never do that. She wouldn't be in the Bronx sitting
Nah.
in a McDonald's
Nah.
like
She
that.
wouldn't.
She wouldn't.
She wouldn't, right? But sitting in LA, you like, I'm out here.
And I think we should have learned from P&B Rock's situation.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that's not what we do.
Right.
This is also, I think, to your point a second ago, this is Ice Spice's youth coming into play here, because she's
That's
going to
what I'm
McDonald's
saying.
and sitting in there.
In New York,
and
you fight at McDonald's.
Also, let's be really clear. This was super corny. Super corny
Yeah,
on
very
the
corny
parts of them
situation.
other people. One, the girl with being a weirdo, and then the dude like wanting to fight.
I
That
saw
was
that.
a
That
big
was the
time
weirdest
weirdo.
thing for
Like,
me. in the
him
video.
wanting to be-
There was a man in the video who was being very aggressive towards Ice
Yes.
Spice. Like he
Yes.
had very much wanted to fight her.
Yeah.
And she wasn't backing down either, but it's just like, why are you as
Yeah.
a man trying to fight
Right.
this woman? And
Very
you don't even
corny.
seem like you initiated the conflict. Like you don't even seem like you were involved in the initial interaction. So where did you come from? and
You
why
want to
you trying
know what
fight
he
women?
should be involved in? The lawsuit that's coming.
Well, yeah, and
Get Buddy in there too.
that's a big problem for me. This whole like men going after women.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
That goes to your point earlier.
Yeah.
Like,
Very much so.
that's
'Cause-
there's no universe where that should be normal.
No,
Exactly.
not at all.
But to your point, and this one I will absolutely agree on. There's a world right now where boys might not be taught to respect women in a certain
Right,
way.
right.
Like I have a son and a daughter, and they go at it. They're kids. You know what I mean? They have beef. You know what I mean? And he has a very hard time understanding that if his sister goes bing, then he's not supposed to go bing.
Right.
Right. That's a lesson you got to teach a young boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's growing bigger, and he's got muscles now. You know what I mean? He's 10, so he's like, that 10
Hit me
period is
now.
crazy.
Hit me now.
That 10 period is crazy. Now I know what my parents went through, right? But like you do have to teach. Like I think black men, like, and I don't know why it's happening. If we're as fathers maybe not as active as we need to be to shake them a little bit, but like you gotta like men are very specific.
Yeah.
Like the growth of a man is extremely specific, and there's no way that's a code that we can never break. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I broke it down to my son. I was like, look at me and you. Do you know what I mean? If I railed off and pushed you back after you pushed me, what would happen?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? My testosterone is crazy in comparison to yours.
Right.
That's insane, right? But I want to feel safe in McDonald's.
Why you eat your McNuggets?
You
I feel
don't need to be at no goddamn McDonald's.
I moved to the suburbs just for this reason.
She sat at the table with all his
I'll be right
sauces in a
there.
row
What?
and everything.
What laid out?
You like, I need to be
If
able
I
to dunk
see
in
you
peace.
sitting in a
What?
McDonald's, well,
You
first
will
of all, I
not
wouldn't
see
be
me at
there. So I
McDonald's.
would
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause I'm
Not
looking
at
at
all.
McDonald's in like Montclair, New Jersey or something. It's gonna be wild.
Crazy.
Anyway,
We went to at Penn State. We had this McDonald's that was famous, and they used to call it Club McDonald's. And literally after any party, it was super lit in there.
Yo.
You never know what would happen
McDonald's
in
is
that
not-
Our
McDonald's.
homecoming, Georgia Ave, the McDonald's.
Yeah, there you go.
McDonald's is not.
Oh
no
yes,
diner.
Yes.
Y'all
Like,
fighting Burger
McDonald's,
King,
everything
Wendy's,
but.
Yeah.
Taco
Everything
Bell.
but. Yeah, because they don't have. That's not the culture of
So
the
Burger
Burger
King-
King.
it's not-
So
yeah.
Burger King did have better burgers though.
Yo,
Yes.
absolutely, absolutely.
I like-
Flavor-
Absolutely.
But the cheeseburger and the fries, the number 2 meal is crazy. It's good.
And the breakfast sandwiches was lit. The croissant
Yeah.
joints, crazy.
All right. Well, thank you guys for all your
That's it.
opinions today. That is it. We are wrapping up what just happened, and now we know what happened. I want you guys to give us your where we can find you, what we can look forward to. Keep it short and sweet if you want. Yeah. Starting with my guy over here.
Can't find me. I'm just here.
Well, I would actually say you can find me all over, but currently my Instagram is down. Anybody out there, please, I'm taking up a collection so I can pay everyone at Meta to never have my account down
Damn,
again.
somebody got you. They
Yeah,
sniped
Yeah,
you.
man, snipe me, man. I'm out of here for now, but check a billboard in Times Square. That's where you'll find me.
I got mad tags because I want one of them to go viral. So at Rashid J is me and my
Boom.
comedy. Out of Pocket Comedy. I think it's Out of Pocket Comedy NYC. I should probably know it perfectly. Malik put the ADR. And Team Sheet is a production company. We're in process. We're doing a big comedy show out in LA right now. It's getting announced next month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we busy. We moving.
All right, I'm Alexa Layton. You can find me online at Alexa Layton on everything, and we're out of here.